thanks everyone for taking the time out today. Whatever it is you might be doing, whether you're on lunch break, you're just taking a day off work to join us. It's great to have you, and so many of you as well. We'll try and keep this to about half an hour or so, but we've got a really good agenda, so I'm sure that we'll overrun a little bit as well. If you do need to drop off, we're going to be recording this, so we will send it out to you so you won't miss a thing. But with that, if you don't want to have your face shown, I'd turn your video off now. Otherwise, you're going to be on screen. Great. Right, I'll just introduce myself to begin with. I'm John O'Cox. I'm head of marketing here at Learning People, and I've been with the company for 8 years now. It's great having these seminars. I've been super excited about today because it's something that we're all extremely passionate about as a company. We've run quite a lot of events to support women in tech in general, and today we're going to be talking about women in project management. The Learning People we founded will be 12 years ago in February, and we have offices all over the world. We're based in Brighton. We've got offices over in Dublin and in Australia and in New Zealand as well. We have over we've got about 35,000 students globally as well. And you know, transitioning from where we were when we started the business, we're all about offering kind of online training, which has evolved. We're very much now a digital school that supports people entering into new careers or upskilling. And that's right the way through from coming to us, understanding what a career in project management look like, enrolling onto our courses, and then finding job support, job placement. And we've enabled, you know, over 30,000 students to just live better lives through education, basically. Ultimately land a dream job and earn more money, which is what we want to do. So that's it from me. I'm going to pass over to Robin. She's part of our she's in Dublin as part of our career services team. Robin knows so much about the industry in general, and is a key part of as a student. You'll work very closely with Robin to enter into a new industry and find the right job for you. But Robin, tell us all about it.
Thank you very much, John. I every time that introduction just always warms my heart. But I, like John said, I'm part of in the Dublin office of Learning People, and I'm one of the members of Career Services. So our purpose is to support you students, to help you to become job ready, to navigate the job market, and to navigate a career change if that's applicable to your circumstances. So we have designed a 3-phase process, which we guide our students through in order to facilitate this. Phase 1 looks all about building your professional brand. So it's all about putting those building blocks together to create the foundation of you becoming a credible project professional candidate. Now, that might be in the case of that, you know, it might be your first role, or it might be your first project focused role, or you may be an established project manager. But what we're aiming for here is that regardless of your circumstances, that you understand how to present yourself in line with the market's expectation of your project role of choice. Because we all know one of the harder things in your job search is getting noticed, right? So that's what phase 1 is all about. So we give you guides on how to research the industry, how to research your role of choice, and understand what your keywords are, which are massively integral to your path towards the job market. So you also get a guide on building and updating your CV, and the same with your LinkedIn. You'll work one-to-one with a consultant like myself to basically polish your documents till they reach both that professional standard with the industry focused standard. Again, coming back to what the market expects of you, which puts you in a much stronger footing as you begin to approach the job market. We work together until that standard is achieved, basically a back and forth till we reach that. I won't allow you to go to market with a subpar CV or LinkedIn profile. I think Adele and Jasmine can definitely attest to that. And so once we finalize that, we then progress you to phase 2. And there's 2 elements to phase 2. So first it's about networking with key players in the project management industry. So building these contacts, and also with the aim of learning from them, so that can go to further help solidify your brand as a project professional, but also broaden your understanding of the market and what the industry as a whole requires of you moving into it. The other side of it is getting an understanding about how you approach the job market, right? You know, because there is such a huge tendency for people to just rely on the online job boards. And unfortunately, this isn't really the best route, right? We've all heard those stories. I've applied for 100 jobs. I've applied for 200 jobs and I've had no responses. That's an unfortunate byproduct of the fact that the online job boards are not a true representation of availability of opportunities in the market. They only represent 30%, which tells us if that's your only method of job search, you're almost guaranteeing it to take you longer to find a job. So what we do with students at phase 2, to cut it quite a long story short, is we help you to create a structured and targeted plan where you're balancing multiple methods of application to give you a much stronger probability of achieving a positive result, rather than just relying on the online job boards. Phase 3, which is the final phase, focuses predominantly on interview preparation, general interview support, and we do things like mock interviews. We also discuss how to beat that applicant tracker system, or AI CV reviewer as it's also known, and how to build relationships with recruiters. And in addition to the general 3-phase process, you have myself or my colleague Marisha, who are the consultants, on hand for tailored and impartial support on a one-to-one basis until you land that role. So that's sort of what we do at Career Services.
Thanks, Robin. Great overview. I love your bike in the background as well. I've not noticed that.
Thank you. She's very pretty, isn't she?
She's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, she's missing her basket. She normally is even prettier. There's a basket on the front. She's just off at the moment.
Do you carry bread in it and milk and stuff?
No, maybe if I lived in Paris or something. But it's not like that in Kildare.
It's a great vision. Thanks, Robin. We'll come back to you in a moment when the plan today is we've got 3 former Learning People students with us who are going to share their experience and just talk about the opportunities in project management and about their stories. So we'll come on to that. We've got loads of questions that you've all sent in as well. So thanks for sending those through. I just want to move over to Matt now, who heads up our project management team, who's been at the company longer than me, has got bags of experience in the industry, pretty much knows everything there is to know about project management. Can I say that?
Yeah, I suppose you can.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain that our students with us today probably know more about actually being project managers than I do. I think that's also fair to say. But yeah, thanks for that, Johnny. I'll keep it short and sweet. Yes, I've been here longer than Johnny by about 3 weeks, I think, but we've both recently reached nearly over 8 years worth of tenure with the Learning People. And I think one of the things to notice about project management is we know that the industry is booming, but one of the things that's great about the boom is the fact that it is offering up so many opportunities to so many different people in so many different cities. There's no age bias. There's no limit to the salaries that you can earn. There's also the fact that we're having this seminar today about women specifically in project management is something that has been a long time coming for us. It's been something that we've wanted to do for quite a long period of time, because I think in the 8 years that I've been doing this, that balance is closer and closer to almost a 50-50 split. Whereas when I started, you had people inquiring about becoming a project manager that didn't know whether or not it was a career path that they wanted to go down to, or whether the opportunities were there. So I think it's a brilliant time to be doing this, just be coupled with industry opportunities and also the gender balances. So getting nearer and nearer to 50-50, the more that we are receiving inquiries. Just to refocus on what I was just saying there about geographical location as well, I'm always interested to see where everybody is on this. I know we're a global company, but one of the great things about project management is that it used to be that one of those industries that everyone just thought happened in London or a big city, and it's not. Because more and more companies are recognizing that wastage of budgets is costing them their growth, it's actually costing their livelihoods at times. Project managers are now literally found in pretty much every industry, every company across the whole of the UK. So if you're one of those people that are joining us from Cornwall or, you know, the Scottish Highlands, or whether you're in Birmingham or London, it doesn't matter. You should be noticing that more and more opportunities are there for you guys as well.
Great, thanks, Matt. Right, let's meet our star students. I think we'll start with Adele. Adele has spoken on our seminars before. It's great to have you back. Thanks for joining us, Adele.
Yeah, good to be back.
Cool. So you studied the PMP with us, and now you're a freelance project manager. Maybe start then at the beginning again. Why project management?
Project management was something I came into. It was from the creative industries. That's what I had done before. I'd been in community radio, I'd done film production, I'd done festival planning. And from that, I kind of realized how much I liked planning and organizing. And then I realized actually I could actually do this in any industry at any time, in any phase of my career. This is something I could really get into and really kind of take hold of. And so I just started, and like it was the funniest thing because I didn't realize that all the things that I was doing was project management, because we call them production. We just have a different word for it, but it's actually the same thing. So once I realized that, I thought, right, let's become a project manager and then start to get certified. So that was really the beginning of my journey.
Perfect. So we've got a series of questions. We'll just we'll introduce everyone else. So Jasmine's with us as well. I haven't met Jasmine before. Thanks for joining us. You managed to complete your courses in 4 months, which is outstanding. And am I right? You're service delivery project manager at Dell now.
Yes, I am indeed. Yes. So hi everyone. Nice to virtually meet you all. So I decided to. My journey was a little bit different. I kind of gave myself a time frame to try and do this as soon as possible. So I was speaking to Kaylee and Robin, and they were like, all right, so this is going to take a few years, especially because you're working full time. And I just didn't see, I'm a very impulsive person. So I like to do things there and now. And I said to Kaylee on the phone, she works at Learning People too. I was like, I'm going to do this in 4 months. She was like, no, you're not. And she's like, that's way too much. And I'm not going to lie to you, all of you. I failed my Prince 2 practitioner, my Agile and my PMP. First time round, I failed every single one. And then 1 week later, I seemed to have passed. God was on my side. It was just something that really drove me to do what I wanted to do. And now it's landed me. If I didn't have the Learning People, I don't think I would have really got my job at Dell. So when I was already working as a project manager and I wanted to swap to a slightly large company just to experience it, which I'm so glad I did, by the way. I was working for a small IT company. When I had started at Dell, having that PMP qualification, Dell have a massive ethos around studying. So now they're like to me, not in a cocky way, they're like, you've done all the qualifications we normally say to someone to do. So now I'm studying ITEL, which is a specific accreditation for project managers in IT. And it's just nice to have that little bit of background with the PMP, with the Agile, because then you can apply the right one. It's like switching gears. You make sure you drive in the right lane at the right time. So yeah, that was my little story.
I love that. And can I ask, are those your certifications hanging up in the background there? Do I recognise those?
They are. Okay, I've had to angle it. I didn't want to say this, but I actually did I'm actually a qualified personal trainer and GP referral specialist. So I did them simultaneously. So they're on one side and the others are on the other. So I was trying to just do the project management side. Thank you.
Display them proudly. They're fantastic. You earned them.
You're going to run
Thank you so much.
As well. Love that. So your job title, Service Delivery Project Manager at Dell. What does that actually mean? You have to deliver, what kind of service is it?
Okay, so when I first joined Dell, I thought I'd be building computers, as most of us do. Little did I know that they have a whole service department. So when I say services, I am in the service, if you want to put it, cohort. So we deal with large companies, like basically, and partner companies to help make sure that we can deliver any type of service that might be. Now, coming from a software background, I'm great with software. Give me software, give me infrastructure, anything like that, I'm brilliant. Give me hardware, I can't tell you anything. So now that's what I'm having to relearn. So services combines hardware and software, and specifically I work within, okay, I've got to be careful how I say this. I work within quite a secure unit. So with what I can tell you about projects I'm working on, it has to be very vague, if you get what I'm saying, because I asked to work on those types of projects and they are amazing.
We'll keep it top secret between this group.
Yeah, but yeah, I do really enjoy it. Basically, delivering hardware and software can be an upgrade, can be a new install, and it's either I'm hoping eventually I get a massive program. That's my goal, but at the moment I'm working on smaller projects.
Okay. And have you got a team that you have to manage then?
Yes. With this type of role, you have in my previous role, I used to have like anything between 6 and 8, sometimes 12 consultants or architects. This one, you're not even with Dell, you're not even dealing with Dell's solution architects and everyone like that. You're also dealing with third parties. So to me, that's a new challenge. I have dealt with third parties before, but leading and managing a team, which could be anything up to 20 to 25, this is a new experience, especially remotely.
Just to bring Adele in here again, as a freelance project manager, you obviously go into new situations and you're working with a new team each time. How does that work? How do you gain the trust from people?
Yeah, there's a question. Sometimes they have no option. This is Adele, this is our new project manager, and she's now going to lead you into success, and there you are. And that's the start of it. In others, you are phased in gradually. You might have something like bigger to start with, and you can work your way down or up, or whatever way the company wants to work that. At other times, you're coming in when there's not necessarily a crisis, but there's a problem, there's something to fix, there's something that's going wrong. So sometimes you're coming in to help and to adjust that. So a lot of the time, people are quite happy to see you. So, you know, they're like, oh, great, someone to take on this role in particular, because companies have become so big now. They do need people to come in and just worry about a particular thing or a particular phase of a project. So that's where we can kind of see now this development of project management, is that people do need others to come in to look about particular parts of their company.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's bring Erica in. Now, Erica, you were working in events during COVID, and then entered a customer service role.
Yeah.
And then you work closely with Marisha, and so your title is you're now Global Project Director for Reuters Events. Is that
yeah? It's Reuters Events. Yeah.
Reuters Events. Okay. Is this happening in quite a short amount of time?
Yeah, it was quite crazy. My background is in hospitality and events management. So basically back in March, just right when COVID situation started, I was, I saw all the events getting canceled. I used to work for a hotel where I was doing event management, and I always wanted to, basically all my clients has this title, project manager, and I was always wondering what that meant or how that worked. So I started looking online on what I could do together, because obviously having a background in hospitality, you don't just jump out of hospitality just like that. You need something else. So when lockdown started, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to do something, because we were put on furlough straight away. And to be honest, I was not like Jasmine at all. I was not the best example as a student. It was quite tough because we did not have the answers and, all the cancellations. So I couldn't really see a way out in a way. But yeah, I studied my Prince 2 certifications. And then obviously I had to pause that for a while because redundancies were starting. So my main concern was to find a job just to pay the rent. So I landed, because I speak 3 languages, I landed a role at Lego, where basically it's just customer service advisor that you do. It's very 8 hours per day, not like events, let's say. And outside of these hours, I started volunteering and studying as well for a Prince 2 practitioner. And thanks to that, because I have been volunteering for a charity called Deaf Unity, where I had a role in virtual events, in the virtual events team, and then in the Project Management Institute, which was a very big jump for me. And I got that because obviously through Learning People, I had the membership there, and you can look for some volunteering experiences, which is what I found. And I'm still actually volunteering for them. And after that, yeah, Reuters Events happened. So some job started to be posted, and I was quite focused and doing a lot of things. So they definitely asked me about my certification, and I'm sure I got through the door thanks to that.
So it was obviously the experience and having the certification went hand in hand together to land this job.
Yeah, along with the volunteering experience, I would say as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, to become a global project director, that's quite a big title, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what can you tell us a bit about the daily tasks? What do you have to do?
So I mean, that's the title that we are given because we are in charge of many different things. So my role would be, in other words as well, conference producer. So normally in pre-COVID life, what we would do is like having a very large project on a very large conference for mainly C-level and executive people. So a limited amount of people, but very focused, because what we deliver are events focused on business intelligence. And, you know, we have to basically research, draft the agenda, look for the right speakers that normally are for quite big companies as well, and finding sponsors, and then obviously sell the events to many attendees. So it's a lot of different activities right now, because live events are not happening, and Reuters events is quite cautious, I would say, in that sense. We are delivering different type of content. So I'm working in delivering white papers or webinars and many others actually, and executive forums as well, workshops, small things, more focused, but it's a lot of many different things. And we coordinate basically with marketing, with the commercial side. So I'm still new. So forgive me for not being super clear, but I started like a month ago, and they told me that it's going to take me a while to learn fully this job. So, but it's very exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, it's what an epic journey. So
Yeah.
Do you think things that are starting to open up in terms of putting on live events, kind of as we hopefully come out the other side?
Yeah, that's what you would imagine. But then look at Florida now, and they're canceling again all the events. So it's we're a global company, so we have events in mainly North America and Europe. So it's really another question. We are looking at 2022 at the moment, not really 2021. 2021 is only for maybe small events for a very selected people that needs to meet and exchange information, but not really large events with 400 people that you used to have like in Barcelona or London and so on. We're not really looking at that.
So the people that you work with, other departments, you say you mentioned marketing. Do you have a team that you have to manage, or is it just bringing everybody together to deliver?
Yeah, it's mainly bringing everybody together, and then we work like it's quite an individual job in a way, but you do it with other people around. So it's not that I have like a team to manage. Obviously, when it comes to deliver the event, we have a team that does that, so the operations team, but that would be only in that phase. So we're moving around because it's you have different phase when you prepare an event, from the research to the recruiting to the final deliver. So yeah, it's something we do in a collaborative way. But for now, I've only seen the first phase of everything.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
This is a good question to everyone then. We'll talk about say women in the industry. I don't feel that it is a male dominated industry, but is that something that you feel it is? Where do we start? Is it a male dominated industry to begin with? Jasmine?
As you can see from my facial expressions, Dell have a massive culture initiative, which they're trying to bring more females in, especially within my department. From my experience, which is not like Adele's, I believe that everyone else has different, like a lot more experience than me, but from my experience, definitely is. Especially, it depends on what type of IT and technology you're into. So I know from my experience, things like fintech and especially AI, those are heavily male-dominated industries, especially cybersecurity. They're trying to bring in females. Other areas of technology is generally 60-40, 50-50. They're trying to bring it in, but that's why there's so many initiatives of trying to bring females into technology. Because back in, I know from speaking to Dell Legacy, which is basically before Dell and EMC merged together, it used to be called Dell Heritage or Dell Legacy. It was predominantly males. And that was just purely because of the value of the job. So that's just my opinion. They are trying to change it, which is nice.
Do you think then it's more related to the divide is in kind of the tech side of project management? So obviously project management, it's in finance, it's in events. Do you think it's just across the spectrum?
I think depending on the industry of what technology you're talking about, the inclusivity of, I don't know, females to males, the diversity, it can be worse in certain industries compared to others. I don't think you can generalize technology as a whole. I think depending on the sub-department that you're talking about, they can really vary, I think. I
definitely think it depends on the industry. Events is more like 50-50. If you go to construction, then you'll see the percentage just goes up. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I was going to say that exactly. I mean, my team would tell you the great thing is when I told them that we were doing a webinar on this topic, some of them are like, why? Like, because they don't see it anymore. They just don't experience it. Unless, like I said, you're talking about a field like construction or some areas of tech, some fields are the opposite. Like, it's more of a female dominated industry in some professions, but it is very much industry specific. But I still remember my first few days on the phones. I mean, it was back then that 40% of our inquiries came from construction alone. You know, that's now way below 15%. You know, it's how diverse project management has become as a whole. And I think that now the gender imbalance is following suit.
Adele, what do you think on this? Do you agree? And if so, how do we get more women into project management?
Yeah, of course. I think traditionally it had been a male industry. And when you think about project management, you know, most of the time it is construction, and that is very male dominated and still would be, in fairness. And then you get into the tech industry, which I know Jasmine would know more about than I do, but that's a very similar idea. It is mostly men. We're still trying to get a few more women sort of into that role. So it has traditionally been very male focused. And the first few project management events that I ever went to, this is probably now like 10, 15 years ago, it was me and a room full of suits. That was it, me and my pink jacket, you know, feeling very legally blonde. But that was the experience that I would have had. Whereas now I noticed when we do events like this, or when I go to other project management events online, there's certainly far more women now than there ever has been. And I think what people have to remember is that project management is still a very new career. You know, for a lot of people, like no careers advice guidance counselor I ever had mentioned, oh, Adele, I think you should be a project manager. Do you know, so it's still a very new thing. And when you think about how, like, the PMI was founded in like 1969, but they didn't do certification to 1986. So how recent all of this actually is. So I think women will get there, but it's just going to take us a bit more time.
Do you think, this might be completely wrong, do you think this stems from a wider picture in terms of global leadership? So there are more women in leadership roles, and then that will obviously filter down into MD roles with women filling those roles. Is that something that we're seeing more and more of, and it will help more women in project management? Yeah,
I always compare. I think that from my background in the creative industries, I think that the creative industries and project management is very, very similar, because in the creative industries, you know, again, male dominated, you know, the tradition was that if you wanted to be a camera person or a light person or something like that, you had to be very physically strong because all the equipment was heavy. You know, when you look back at the history of Hollywood, it was all these big men, because you had to start and carry all these lights and equipment and all of these things. Whereas now, like, women can do all those jobs because now the equipment, because of the digital revolution, the equipment is lighter. You don't need to be that physique anymore. And because more women are interested in doing that kind of thing. So I think it has, and I think the project management world is the same. We had this idea that it was all construction people, and that of course it was all about engineering and making bridges and doing roads. But now people are realizing that there's much more industries, there's much more options, and that women are taking their place in those roles.
And then also, as you discussed earlier, in terms of managing a team, you earn respect because you've been, as a freelance project manager, handpicked to come in and do that role. And do you think that you just naturally respected, whether you're male or female, because you've been handpicked to do that role? Yeah, it depends on the team. It's, I suppose, not really. It's kind of a gender thing, but not necessarily. Like, I've worked in fact, the majority of my projects are with men, and I can say that I've never really had any major issues. The odd comment about women drivers and things like that, but nothing too sort of major. But for a lot of people, it's just you're coming in to do a particular job, and it's more about personality really than anything else. It's whether they take that as a positive or as a negative. Just from a freelance point of view, obviously it's different if you're there for a year or 2 years. You can you have time to earn all of those things. But certainly when I come in, it's a case of, this is what I want to do. This is how we're going to lead this. And basically, are you with me? Do you know, that's sort of how I come into it. And Jasmine, have you faced anything similar in terms of being a female project manager? Has anyone said anything which you took offence to?
It takes a lot to get me offended. So I've worked just like Adele, predominantly male-based environments. I actually do come from hospitality, 7 years of it. So when Erica said that, my heart like kind of gave out. I think as a project manager, you need strong resilience. And especially if you've worked in hospitality as long as I have, and I believe Erica will mirror me on this, you become resilient to everything. So when I used to run a pub, that's how I started. And then now I'm a project manager, nothing can really faze me. So I think also working remotely and working for IT, it's sometimes building that emotional intelligence. Now, this is where I was going to say is a massive benefit of being a female. I do believe males can be emotionally intelligent, but females have that little bit more intuition. So even like when you're working behind computers and you're not seeing people face to face, having that shift to remote, especially if you are working behind computers, you have to be even more switched on. Especially some of, like, not Dell, but the previous company I was working for, they were very much cameras off. So it was all done by tone of voice, which made you realize even more how people were feeling. Sorry, I've just gone on a complete tangent as usual, but yes.
You know what I love about that is the fact that you worked in a pub, and that's given you the kind of metal that you need, and you can handle anything.
Yes.
I worked in a pub as well, and you know, you see it's the transferable skills.
Yeah.
Just to jump in terms of the balance, actually, because we did some research on this prior to this webinar from the APM, the Association of Project Managers, and one of the most recent surveys they did revealed that it's now 29% of all projects professional positions are filled by women. But the interesting thing is when you drill down to the ages, the vast majority of project managers aged 40 and above are male. The vast majority of project professionals under the age of 40 are female. And I think that shows that the generation that's coming through, that balance is getting there. And if not, it might even end up becoming a female dominated profession, you know, for many different reasons. Maybe another 20 years from now, we're doing another webinar, Jono, where we're trying to convince men to get back into project management. Who knows? But, you know, I think it's just a really encouraging thing. And it harks back to what Adele was saying about how this wasn't an option that people even thought of as a career, full stop. You know, careers advisors weren't recommending it. And I bet there's countless people on this webinar today that might be already working in operations or retail or finance or healthcare that are project managers in everything but title as well. That's something that so many of us are doing project-based work. We don't know it.
It's a really positive stat, isn't it? It's fascinating. Matt, I know that you had an appointment just after 1 that you've got to rush to.
Yeah, that is unfortunately.
We'll crack on without you, but is there anything you want to say to the guys in terms of just giving us a call and kind of talking about options in the industry?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, the majority of people on this call, I imagine, already had a consultation with one of my team. That is a team that's got over 50 years combined experience. We understand everything that is going on in the sector, everything that's been historical going on in the sector. The advice that you will get from your consultant is second to none. Like people like Jasmine, I know you were dealing with Kaylee, Adele, you were dealing with Pete. These are guys that lived and breathed this industry for a long period of time. And their advice is purely down to what you need as an individual. It's nothing more annoying than people say, I've been told by X that I need this qualification. You might do, but the route for you into project management will forever be unique. So if you're speaking to your consultant and this raises any questions, ask them, reach out to them, answer their phone calls. They are the best possible people to give you advice. And at the moment, with the way that the industry isn't changing, the business analyst skills are becoming more and more prominent. And we just launched a market-leading business analyst course, which if you are discussing your career with them, ask them. We have an offer on it at the moment where it gives you the chance to get a business analyst qualification alongside your PMI certifications for free, which is the first time we've ever done that. Does include the examination costs as well. So speak to your consultant.
Thanks, Matt. Great.
All right. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good afternoon.
Emma.
Erica, what would you say then are the key characteristics that you need to become you know, a successful project manager? A month in, maybe you can't say that yet, but to become a project manager?
I think it's working hard, isn't it? I think at the end of the day, it's the quality of work that you bring to the table, and I think you have to have a lot of initiative. And talking about myself, sometimes I have a kind of lack of confidence or something, because obviously I've never done it before, but it's just about maybe throwing yourself a little bit more in the middle. One data that shocked me when I was looking for a job is that normally men apply for a job even if they are not completely qualified, while we wouldn't. And this is exactly what I did. I applied for a job where I thought maybe I can't do this, and I just decided to apply anyway, and I got called. So I think sometimes you just need to remember that you might have bias in yourself that you are not aware of, and just, you know, to just throw yourself out there. And yeah, work hard. That's the main thing. I think it's key for these things, because ultimately we need to have a very good quality in what we do, to be confident and to be sure that we're doing the right thing and that we're bringing quality to the table. So yeah.
Robin, do you think hard work is one of the key characteristics that you need to become a project manager? You've worked with hundreds of
100%, right? But also, just to piggyback off what Erica said there, I know that statistic, right? And it's that women won't apply for a job unless they meet 100% of the requirement.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to apply for a job if they meet 50% of the requirement.
Oh, I knew 60.
Yeah, but, right. But the general rule of thumb is if you reach 70% of the requirements, you should apply for it, because in every role, you need to have room to grow. You cannot enter a role unqualified. And in my recruitment experience, I've sent brilliant people to clients and they go, they're actually too good. They've actually got too much. We need people to be able to grow. So exactly like Eric is saying, go for it. If you meet a good chunk of the requirements, go for it, and don't hold yourself back. And to answer your question, Jono, hardworking, absolutely, right? The job of a project manager is so demanding, right? And in order to do it effectively, you have to be really, really diligent. I'm sure all the ladies here could definitely attest to that, you know, and I think by nature, you see it in the type of person who becomes a project manager. You know, carbon copy of these ladies here, right? Really talkative. You ask loads of questions. You need to understand the top, the bottom, the middle, the sides of everything. And it's just that hunger and that enthusiasm, that's what it is, more so than it is hard work. These people, you all naturally work very hard because of your other underlying attributes, and project management is probably one of the only things that will satiate you because of the variety that's in it and because it's demanding. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think if I can add something just to this, I think you need to have a lot of initiative as well when you're looking for a new role. Like it's not, I don't feel it's enough just to apply merely. I think that using LinkedIn, using all the tools that you give, the networking is fundamental. I knew that that there was actually availability for this role because I knew someone during my volunteering experience. So it's all a bit connected in a way. And sometimes I really felt like whatever I was doing did not really make sense. Like I'm working for free or something, like I'm doing something that doesn't make sense, but in the end of the day, it paid back. So it's just having a little bit of faith in yourself, and that the extra effort that you're putting in is not for anything. It's definitely going to lend you to something. And if not, you have definitely learned something new. You have met someone new, and maybe in 3 years' time, this person will direct you to something else. So it's very, very important not to do just what's on the books, but to understand what's outside that sometimes people don't tell you. And that in your case, like we can talk about, like I talk about this with Marisha, and I look for books as well to read about how to apply best for a job. Like you need to take a little bit of initiative there.
Definitely, because it's all about standing out, right? And if you're just doing the exact same things as everybody else and just hoping for the best, you're not going to stand out.
Yeah. I mean, men are applying even if to 50%, right?
Well, exactly.
Which means
we're holding ourselves back.
Imagine how many CVs and cover letter people are receiving. They're not gonna. They don't dedicate as much time to that application. You know? Yeah.
Jasmine, how?
And I just want to say something on that. It's just, sorry, I just love to talk. I think if you're passionate about something, especially when you're applying for jobs or you're interviewing, like you get into the swing of it of just doing interviews. And sometimes you don't want to seem like a robot. You want to start with something else. So I always start with my discipline in the gym, or my love for my animals, or my cat and my dog. So it's something different because they're so used to everyone just telling them about their experience and this and that. I always try and be different. You know, the blue hair kind of stands out, but on a positive is always start with something that can be relatable. So for example, I remember my third interview at Dell. I think my now manager was talking about his child who was going through GCSEs. My sister's the same age. So it's just about making it relatable, which I think any project manager needs to be. We love to talk, we love to organise, and we love to overanalyze. I think there are 3 things Erica, Adele and I probably have in common.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Adele, this is a question from Louise, which I think is probably most suited for you in terms of experience. Louise says, what are the most important skills to have when you move from a junior project management role into a more senior role?
More senior. Ooh, in terms of, I would say, like, I don't know, soft skills, if that's the word we use these days for it. I think leadership has to be up there. And I was reading a really interesting blog yesterday about how, you know, obviously now we're called project managers, but in sort of 10, 15 years time, we're going to be called project leaders. That word manager is actually going to be taken out altogether. And I think that's a really interesting point. And I was going, actually, leadership, this is something we need to be discussing. It needs to be someone who can go kind of first in, you know, and you'll know the person that needs to do that. It's someone who volunteers for things, you know, like Erica had done. It's someone who will say, I want to get in and I want to sort that, or I want to fix that, or why can't we do this a different way? And I think that's something, again, all 3 of us have in common. And I think that's something that for anybody wanting to move from the junior to the more senior level, certainly that's a kind of a soft characteristic I think that you need. And also, I know because we're here today and we're talking about certification, I can't kind of explain in how many words how much certification has changed my career and in all honesty, my life, you know, and how brilliant it has been. What a tough while it was to study for it, but how amazing that whole experience has been, and it has changed the way I work completely.
Project leader sounds way better, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Who do we need? Do we need the PMI to actually change it? It's now project leader rather than project manager.
Yeah, it's one of these. It was just something, because obviously I wanted to look yesterday at all the facts and figures, and it was just something that came up in my emails, and I thought, isn't that really interesting now that we're going to change from being project managers to project leaders? And I think it describes it much better, because that's what we do. We come in and we take charge of things. That's how it works. So obviously it's different if you're in a long-term position, but certainly for me, that's what I do. It's I come in and I go, right, what do we need to fix? What do we need to do? And how do we do it? So it's very much kind of, let's do this from the start. And so I think for the person that's coming from the junior level, you need to start showing that you can actually take on projects and start doing things. And even if it's something in your own time, you can volunteer or whatever, but it's just to show that you have those leadership skills already.
And Jasmine, what would you say? It's the same question, really. What's the best way to kind of enter the industry? There'll be a lot of people here who are looking to change career. What advice would you give to them?
Kind of have an idea of where you want to go with what industry. Project management is so broad and so beautiful, and that's the only reason why I got into it. I did exactly what Matt was saying. I was doing the role without the title for so long. It was kind of putting the pen to the paper. I studied at university, did my degree, came out of university, was kind of already doing project coordination without knowing. And then when you're first entering the industry, don't put pressure on it. Know what you're interested in. Like if you're interested in gardening, for example, maybe you want to look in gardening project manager roles. It sounds so bizarre, but project management is so diverse. It literally is, what are you interested in? I'm not going to lie, I kind of just fell into technology and now I love it. I'm not the most technical, takes me a while, but it's definitely something I can see myself. This is, you know, something I'll be in for a long time. But when you're first entering the industry, get a feel of what you're interested in, look at the roles. And I did exactly what Robin said. I knew I might not be as qualified as I needed to be in the Dell role, but I still went for it and jumped, and look where I am. I'm lucky to say I got this role. So I think it's just research and know what like really, really talk to the people at Learning People. Like I was calling the Dublin office every day. They kind of knew me, they kind of knew my number because Kaylee, who I was connected with, she unfortunately went off ill, so I needed someone else. So the whole of the Dublin office knew me. That's how I met Robin. And they kind of knew what my number ended in. So I knew I could reach out, and I'm not afraid. Like I'm dyslexic, so I need help. So they knew that, and I just needed to ask questions, and that's exactly what I did. So when I was first talking to Robin, and I was like already in a project management role, but I wanted to go for a big firm, she was explaining about how the CVs work, and it was like a whole minefield. And I think that's why the learning people do it in a 3-stage process, because if they gave you all the information at once like I wanted, it's way too much. So because they break it down, it's really, really digestible, so you can get where you want to go. I think always have a rough plan, but be adaptable at the same time. Have contingency.
Contingency.
Have contingency.
Have contingency. That's really, you've got to use your finger. It's a really interesting point to say, if you want to be a project manager, do it in an industry that you're really passionate about, because every industry needs a project manager. And then so back to you, Erica, in terms of working in hospitality and now events, do you see yourself working up the project leadership ladder and then putting on events like Glastonbury or whatever it might be? Is that where you see the future?
Yeah. The events industry is massive. It's huge. So to me, it was very hard to understand where I wanted to go, if it was corporate, festivals, or all the others that are there. So what I found myself very interested in was like actually to create the product from zero. So not only managing the logistics side of it, which is something that I've done in the past from the venue side, but really creating it. And yeah, I just see myself doing this for quite a while, because it takes a while to be learned, because obviously it's not easy. I'm actually in the supply chain sector, so I'm learning everything about supply chain, and it's super interesting, but it's tough because it's all new. And so yeah, I guess this is my plan for now, and then let's see what it will bring. I think it's very powerful to be able to put in the same room lots of people that can have an influence to each other and make something out of it. So it's a great skill to have. So yeah, let's see.
Right. And then Adele, final thought from you. Just any more advice to anybody to enter in project management?
Because of what we're talking about today, I do think that certification just gives you so many more options, and it helps you learn about project management. And if you're new, then it just gives you kind of all the best ideas and all the best outcomes you can think of. And I just want to say, from a personal point of view for learning people, I was so skeptical of this idea of learning online, and because I'd done like a distance course kind of at home from before, and it was the biggest waste of money and time I'd ever done in my whole life. And I thought, oh, learning online, this is going to be the weirdest thing, and how does this work, and all of these things. And I had a very lovely gentleman called Peter, who was my student advisor. And I mean, a bit like Jasmine, I think he and I just kind of, it was like he knew my phone number, and every time it was just constant phone calls and constant questions and emails. And there was just, but I never felt like I was a burden to anyone, or that it wasn't part of their job to do that. And I mean, I think I talked to him on like a Monday, and I think I signed up the following week. That was how quickly it kind of all happened. And my experience from learning people is that everyone is like that. Everyone has been so open and so friendly. And certainly if you're thinking about getting into project management, then it's really nice to have that level of comfort within learning people, and that oh, actually I can do this, and it just gives you a bit of confidence as well. So I just want to say from a personal point of view that that having that experience has been great.
Well, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear. And then just finally on Jasmine's point, if any of you do become a student with learning people, make sure you put yourself out there, that student care know your mobile number, Robin knows you face to face, and you can see how quickly magical things happen, So yeah, make sure you do that. I think we'll probably leave it there. That was a fascinating 50 minutes. We've recorded it, so obviously we'll send it out as soon as we can, so keep an eye on your inbox. And it'd be great to do another session like this again. Thoroughly enjoyable. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. And have a great afternoon. All right.